I think the value of admissions counselors and recruiters in general are priceless. I mean, they're what bring the revenue into the school. And not all the revenue, there's different ways to get revenue, but they are a large part of that. It's having the right people in the right seats on the bus. It's having the right people there that are bringing people into the school. I always knew that I would jump at the chance to work at Tribeca, just because of the community, the people. So when this opportunity came the day before graduation, I jumped, and so that's what's led me here.
We will honor and will love her. We will stand for right. Always carry high her banner. Hail to the purple and the white. Fellow students, may we honor her and be ever true, ever true. Sons and daughters she'll be proud of. Who? Dear old TNU.
There's always tension when there's changes, and it hasn't been negative tension. I think it's just the tension from growing, and that's always going to happen. They're growing pains, essentially. And our office has handled it better than I've seen a lot of groups handle changes, and I've been extremely proud of how our office has handled that. The change wasn't, it was 300 hopeful, and we, of course, always push towards 300. But any increase in numbers from last year is going to be a positive. And that's not, it's not anything to do with the university spending too much. It's not anything to do with admissions not performing. It's keeping the numbers growing while inflation is making everything more expensive at the same time. And so in order to keep students from paying an outrageously high amount of tuition compared to last year, we raised numbers and enrollment instead of raising tuition costs like crazy. 300, the number 300, I think overwhelms anybody, especially looking at, that's a 60 person jump from last year. And so when you focus on the numbers, it can get very discouraging. And we're focusing on the numbers, but I think what we're really focusing on, and I think what we're hearing from the administration and from our bosses, is you go out there and you do the best that you can do. If that's more than 300, fantastic. If it's not quite to 300, then oh well, we'll try again next year, but you did the best that you could do, and the best that we as a university could do. Most people would say it's a little more stressful. There's definitely been a lot more pressure, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it, if that makes any sense at all. It's been enough pressure that I can handle, but not too much pressure, and so I think that lighting the fire underneath us has been fantastic. There are tears that happen sometimes in the office, because it just, sometimes everyone's coming at you from a different direction, and it just gets to be very overwhelming. The good thing is we can fall back on the office and our friends for that. Does it happen often? Yes. We've been a lot more intentional. It's been a lot more intentional strategy. Rather than letting them come to us and just taking them from there, it's we are going to find applicants, and we are going to track them, and we are going to work with them from before they start an application through. And so starting a little earlier on the application process. I guess the hardest part, though, that I would see as the hardest part, is trying to manage all of that information about 150 different applications and 150 different applicants, because when you're working with them, you know their families, you know what they want to study, you know everything about them, and trying to remember 150 of those can get difficult. I have my cell phone on me at all times, and most of my applicants have my cell phone number. It's on my business card, and so they'll either text me or they'll call me or their parents will, or they'll email me. And so the communications process never really stops for admissions counselors because you're constantly being flooded with questions. I think the key to Trevecca and one of Trevecca's central, I guess, core values is relationship. And that permeates all departments, including the admissions department. And that begins with the relationships you build with the admissions counselors. And then we transition those relationships from just being an admissions counselor to now you're a full-fledged student, let me introduce you to all of these people that can kind of take you from here academically. And so we are the relationship part of the process, the relationship part of the admissions part of the relationship process, recruiting. I'm not worried about what's going to happen. I still think that the university, although they are right-sizing, I do think that the university's in good financial stance. I think that there's nothing really to be worried about. I know there's been a lot of stress and a lot of fear, but I still think that we're strong in our financial in our financial endeavors. So I am extremely positive in the numbers. I think that we are working very strong towards that, and there isn't much in me that says we can't make it.
Anything else?
I'm gonna get a couple shots at the bookshelf.